Good morning. Hey guys, I want to welcome a special guest. We're here at Fort Wealthy Work Podcast Show. We're here at Streetside Classic for Classic, Caffeine, and Community. And today from the community, we have Mr. Brydon Fitzgerald. We want to welcome him to the show. Today we will be talking about real estate and how you can get into it, what are you needing, and we're also going to get to know Mr. Brydon. And so we just welcome you guys. And don't forget to go to our website, tftcommunity.org. Check out our sponsors. Again, Streetside Classic is one of our sponsors. We're here on the north side of Fort Worth here on San Shell. Come take a look. We're here every fourth Saturday. We have our car show coming up this year, our toy drive for our kids, December 7th. And we're looking to have a couple hundred cars out here. Come be a part of that, right? Help your community and check out some nice rides, right? But let's turn our attention to our guest, Mr. Fitzgerald. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Fitzgerald came on board as one of our sponsors, guys. We had the opportunity to receive a donation of some land that we're going to be building our automotive shop and our culinary program off of. And Mr. Fitzgerald stepped up and helped us with the title, the paperwork, the whole transition of this. And afterwards, he's like, you know what, I want to be a part of that. He wants to come out and help our community, our people and our families get get their home, get what they want, get the peace of mind of owning their own piece of real estate. And so, Mr. Fitzgerald, before we dive into it, let's get to know you. Let's get to know the man behind the real estate here.
Yes, sir.
Tell me something about you. We'll see. We have another special guest.
Another special guest.
What's your name, buddy? Well, I don't know if the camera's gonna see him, but we just have a special guest down here.
Yep.
Walking away now.
But a little bit about myself. I've been in real estate for about 6 years now. I got in whenever I was 19. 26 now, just turned 26 this year. I've helped over 150 families buy and sell pieces of real estate, and also lease as well. So that's a little bit about myself. I've been in the business, like I said, 6 years. Helped about 150 families. Is there anything else you want to know?
I do, because as I mentioned earlier, we focus on trades, right? A lot of our kids are not going to college, and obviously you choose not to go to college. I know you have the opportunity to go to college, but you choose to go to real estate where you started your business, you started your company, you did everything, and you didn't come out a couple $100,000 in debt.
Correct.
So what made you make that decision?
Student loans. Ultimately was the decision because I learned about finance really early on. I started taking finance super seriously as a junior in high school.
Okay.
So I started paying attention to credit, debt, all of that stuff. And whenever I was weighing out the pros and cons of going to school, I realized if I decided to take the traditional route and go into school, getting a college education, I was going to graduate with about $40,000, $60,000, $80,000 in student debt, and that would have been ultimately a disadvantage just because when most people go to school, and especially with myself, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do if I went to school, and I didn't know what I was going to get my degree in. So I didn't want to waste any time or money going to school and put myself in debt and not being able to utilize the degree that I was going to obtain. So ultimately, I decided to get into real estate because at the time I was catering here in Fort Worth, and while I was catering, I started catering some parties to where there's some real big real estate tycoons at those parties, and I got a chance to kind of being a part of the conversation on what they were doing, what developments they were doing all throughout DFW, and it started piquing my interest. And after, like I said, being in those rooms, learning about what they're doing, I went home and started doing my research on my own, and that's how I happened to get into real estate. I seen some people that were successful, and it inspired me, and I started doing research about how to get into real estate, and ultimately, it's almost like any other trade school, right? You go through, so the school I went to was Champion School of Real Estate. You gain a certain amount of credit hours to lead up to your state and national exam. And then after you pass your state and national exam, you go out and start shopping for brokers that match your criteria. And the startup cost wasn't as bad as school, right? So I think to give a rough estimate to get started in real estate is about $2,500.
Okay.
That's from start to end.
That's a sizable investment that you can do. You can manage that.
Absolutely.
Working as a young 19-year-old young man,
Yeah.
that's doable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we were having a conversation before the podcast started, and there is an American dream, but it's also the American grind, right? Whenever I first started off in real estate, it was a grind. I was 19 years old, and I was working 3 jobs, and just trying to make ends meet, just to have bills to pay. But I had a dream, which was ultimately to become one of the best realtors in DFW, and it took some time to get there, but ultimately I can say I am.
Exactly, man. So, we're at the schools. We're talking to these young students, and your testimony to that trade school versus college.
Yeah.
Now you have these students. Do you tell them to go there to trade, or how do you pick them to judge for themselves? I mean, I can picture a person, like you said, in your room thinking, what am I going to do? A senior in high school.
Absolutely.
I can see them, sitting there stressing out. Do I go the traditional route? Do I go to trade school? Do I satisfy my family, my parents by going to college? But what ultimately would you say to them to make their decision?
I would figure out what their passion is. If your passion doesn't require a college degree, then don't spend the money on it. But ultimately, how to make the decision: keep your family aside. I know most people want to make their parents proud, but at the end of the day, you have to live the life of your dreams, not your parents' dreams, right? So with that, it truly depends on the student. I would ask them, hey, what is your end goal, right? Like, what is your passion? What do you want to do with life? And if that requires a college degree, by all means, go through the college route. But I'm a firm believer of the School of Hard Knocks. The School of Hard Knocks is learning it in the real world with real people and not off of theory. And that was another piece of school. So I did go to community college here at Tarrant County College, and best way to describe it, I didn't find as much value out of Tarrant County College because they were basing their studies off of theory and not actual principle. What I mean by that is they were teaching stuff that happened 15, 20 years ago, that the market has completely changed. So I decided to jump directly into the, like I said, the School of Hard Knocks and learn as I went. And I'd say that's the best thing ever, just because you have hands-on experience, you have real-world experience, and there's no experience like working with someone else, right? Instead of just doing case studies or whatever else. But to answer your question on what I would tell the younger generation on if they decided to go to a trade school or to go to the college route, put all the deciding factors into one group, but also make sure that those deciding factors are your deciding factors, not your parents, not your colleagues, not your teachers, not anything else. Make sure that this is something that you seriously want to do, because it's either going to be a huge commitment on going to school and getting into debt, if that's the route, or if you're able to get some grants or scholarships, that's great. Or if you just wanted to go through the School of Hard Knocks or go to the trade school and build a business off of that. It just depends on the student or the person that I'm talking to. But fairly, I'd say in a quick conversation, I can tell them, hey, I think this would be the best route for you, just by how they're responding. But I know it's kind of a runaround answer, but it truly just depends on what each individual wants, because everybody wants something different out of life.
Well, we're going to have that opportunity to talk to our kids. In April, our financial month is we're going to be doing our seminar, and so we're going to get some students in there. Hopefully, get their parents as well. You have the ability to talk to them and help them out.
Yes.
And talk about their passion, talk about how to make those decisions. And so, now I would like to turn to one thing you mentioned: catering.
Yes.
And meeting people. Because you met the mayor,
yes,
Mayor Matty Parker,
yes.
And so that's something we have in common. I didn't go the traditional route either, meeting the mayor, but hey, we got there, right? Yeah, we got there. So culinary, you mentioned catering is the passion of yours. You mentioned to us earlier about a couple of restaurants that might be interested in what we're doing. Mr. Juan and the Bonnell restaurant.
Yes, Chef Juan with Magdalena's and John Bonnell of Bonnell's over here in Fort Worth. I worked with them very closely. The catering company that I worked with partnered with Magnolinas and Bonnell's to help service their catering department. And being around those guys, it inspires me just because they
see how you lighten up when you talk about. So they must be real friends.
Yes.
Okay.
They're amazing people. I have nothing negative to say about them. The reason why I lit up was because I see what they built, right? And I'm a big fan of building myself. I'm a big creative, and to see them start from ground zero and build a successful business to Chef Warren being on Master Chef, and then Chef Bonnell created his own niche to where his original restaurant is Bonnell's, but he opened it up and created Waters, and also created Buffalo Bros and many different other restaurants, to where they're building these massive companies under this one umbrella, and I just value them just because
it's the American grind.
It's the American grind.
That's the American grind.
That's all it is.
That's what we're gonna put out there. Y'all gonna get turned on to the American grind. Today is just y'all just hearing about it right now, but it's coming to you soon.
Yeah.
It's coming to you soon.
Real soon.
I guarantee you, the American grind. All right, so now let's pivot. Let's go ahead and pivot into real estate, right?
Yeah.
You know, as I've told you, my first home, my realtor, she did what she had to do to get me into that house. So, but it was we cut some corners, as you know, one would say, you know. But give us your insight, your gratification on getting a family into that home. It don't even have to be their first home, but that was my first home. But about getting them into a home. Tell me about it.
Man, it's the gratification it's nothing like it. Honestly, it's nothing like it. The reason why I say that is because typically there's a lot of buyers out there that don't believe that they can buy a home. Their parents have they've rented all of their life, and they don't think that dream is true for them. And the gratifying piece is to give them the roadmap and walk them through it, and then you see their own perspective change. So they're thinking from their whole life of just renting apartments or renting houses, and then you see that shift in them to show them the light that is actually achievable. And with that, it's super, super gratifying just because I'll give you one testimony. So there was this one single mother that I helped out. She had 3 kids. She's rented her entire life, and she went the normal traditional route of going to school, and she has student debt, right? And showing her the piece of, hey, yeah, the student debt is there, but we're also still able to get you pre-approved for X amount. And while you're pre-approved for X amount, what I tell people is, whenever you buy your first home, it's not your forever home, and don't expect it to be your dream home. The reason why is because there's steps to it, right? Most people, whenever they buy their first home, it's going to be something that's going to be solid. It's going to be a solid investment, but also at the same time, you're always going to be able to level up from there. But the most important piece is to fix your monthly payment to where everything from here on out is fixed. So your car payments are fixed, your insurance are fixed, now your mortgage is fixed. Because if you don't buy, you're going to be subject to the market value, and rents, as everyone has seen here in DFW, has continued to skyrocket. Like, I remember I was talking to my parents, their first apartment that they rented was $600. Now you can't find an apartment here under $1,200. And that's just a basic 1-bedroom. But let me get back to the testimony of the single mom. Once I showed her that she was able to get pre-approved, and then showing her what's achievable in terms of the home that she's wanting, I was able to get her a brand new home, pay $0 in closing costs, because we were able to get a down payment assistance program and closing cost program. And she pretty much moved into a brand new home that fits her and her 3 kids. And she paid almost no money to get into it. And I would say it like this, it wasn't a perfect scenario. I remember you mentioning your realtor did what they needed to do to get you into that home, right? And with her, there's maybe a little bit of credit issues, there was a debt to income issues, there were all of these issues, but we were still able to get her into that home. And once, I'd say just handing over her the keys and letting her cry right there, it was just something that like changed my heart to where it was like, this is what I do it for. I do it for the people. I don't do it for the real estate. Yeah, I get to see beautiful homes all day long, but at the end of the day, whenever you get those small people, like whenever you get the small wins of people not thinking that they can actually achieve a goal, that's what resonated with me, because it's a beautiful sight, and just to show people what they're capable of, them not actually believing it until it's actually done. It's something that weighs heavy on me, and I'm appreciative of every opportunity I get, and I love just working with people that they don't think the dream is true, but you show them how to do it.
Yeah. You grind for them.
Yeah. Oh man.
You grind for them.
People think real estate is it's like selling sunsets, right?
Yeah.
So where you show a home and now you're making this $100,000. No, it's not the case. There's some weeks that I work 60, 65 hours, maybe 70 hours in a week.
Right.
So it's the grind. But yes, I'm grinding for my business, but I'm grinding for the people that help me fuel my business. And it's so much I have so much gratitude and so much gratefulness just because I love what I do, and people can see that. I have a real passion about it, and whenever you work with me, you see it. You see the grind.
There you go. Well, let me tell you something. He mentioned $600 that his parents rented an apartment, and this is many years ago. Just to give a nugget, this is not Mr. Brydon Fitzgerald. He's also my nephew.
Yes.
And so that apartment, check it out, was in Grapevine, Texas.
Yes.
Grapevine, Texas.
You can't get anything.
You can't. Come on.
Under $1,600 for a 1-bedroom right now.
Grapevine, Texas, by the lake, by the way, so it's not happening in today's world. But as you was talking, you mentioned, buying and leasing.
Yes.
Do both. Because some people believe, I'm just going to lease and invest my money into the market. They're going to, their lifetime plan is not to own here. Let's say if I'm not going to live here, I'm going to lease, invest. Have you ever had any client tell you that they're just going to lease and don't want to buy because they don't want to be settled down with taxes and all the insurance and all that trash? Because sometimes it's a burden. And I'm going to say a testimony real quick. After I got my home, now I got another home, right? This home is, I'd say less than a mile and a half from where we used to stay on Broadway there, right? The taxes went up like 6 times the amount. I didn't plan for that. That first year, dude, I was ticked off.
Yeah.
I went down to the appraisal district.
Yep.
My heart pumped up, my chest stuck out. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
I live a mile and a half away. Why is this happening? I guess it's back, by the way, y'all. Can we get the camera? Anybody can we get the camera? Come here.
No, you're getting shy.
He's going to miss that.
You got camera shy.
We'll get him on before it's over with.
Yeah.
And so, I was ticked off, like, why a mile and a half did my taxes go up 5-6 times more, And so I wasn't, it wasn't in my budget,
Right.
and it kind of stung a little bit,
Yeah.
especially when I went to the court, the appraisal court, and they ruled against me. They ruled against me because I wasn't educated. At this time, I was my own builder.
Right.
So I didn't have that realtor. I didn't have you sitting there saying, all right, Mr. Taylor, it's about the value of that home and not where you're located at.
Yes.
And so those things is why it's very important, even though I save money building our own home, but to have a realtor there to teach you these things.
Yeah.
And so, she's walking though. But it's real valuable to have somebody that you can trust and go to for those questions and those roadblocks, because that did sting a little bit, because I'm thinking, man, I got all my bases covered. I'm rocking and rolling on building a house. We built it, and then a couple of months later, bam. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? You know what I'm saying? So,
and if you don't mind if I piggyback off of that, so while buying a home, that's one thing that you have to adjust for. Most people, or I'd say most people, whenever they buy a home, they don't think about the taxes, and that's a really, really important piece, because typically whenever you buy a home, you're going to be at a certain appraised value whenever you purchase it, and that doesn't include when the property value continues to go up. Yeah, it's going to be a good thing because now your equity is growing, but now that home is being valued more to where the taxes are going to be more.
Yeah.
So when I tell people whenever they buy a home, look at the monthly payment, make sure that's something that you're comfortable with, but also give yourself a little bit of flex room, because your property value is going to go up. It's 9 times out of 10 it's going to go up more than it's going to go down, right? And the most important piece whenever you're thinking about taxes is make sure you get your homestead exemption. Most people don't file their homestead exemption, but here in Texas you have to file it because they reward you for being an active participant of the community, and that's whenever you get the homestead exemption. But always factor into your monthly payment that it's going to go up because of the taxes. So just don't get blindsided, especially in that first year. And if you buy new construction, your taxes will go. I can guarantee.
Yes, you will. And I mean, I had to educate myself on it. And when I did, I'm like, school taxes. I'm like, I don't have kids in school.
Yeah.
Why am I paying for this crap? You know what I'm saying? It was all this stuff. But hey, you're part of the city, you're part of the community, you're part of Fort Wealthy Work, and you're gonna pay those taxes.
Yes.
You know, give Caesar what is Caesar's, right?
Yes.
All right. So having those relationships, having the gratification of getting family into these homes. Now, if I'm picking a realtor, let's get into why I'm picking a portfolio. Why am I going to Mr. Fitzgerald here? So, your experience. Give me the experience. You said 6, 7 years. If I'm picking, what should I expect from a realtor?
What you would expect from a realtor is somebody that's not just going to work business hours, right?
Okay.
I don't have real set business hours. I mean, there's sometimes I have my cutoff, right? So like on like a Friday, sometimes I cut off at like 7 or 8 if there's not super busy or whatever. But whenever you're thinking about choosing a realtor, you want to make sure you match with someone. What I mean by match with someone is your personality is the same. You guys have the same goals. You have the same vision. Because at the end of the day, if your personalities are totally different, you're gonna tend to clash heads a little bit. The reason why is because you're gonna have different values in them, and they may not hold your values as high as I would, or whoever you match with perfectly. And with that, sometimes I tell people that I'm not the right fit for you because we're not. This isn't going to be a good transaction, right? So, whenever you choose a realtor, the main thing is check their expertise. What I mean by that is check their knowledge. Whenever you go out with them, ask them certain questions to gain more information. So, ask about the taxes, ask about the communities, ask about what's developing around the communities. Why is this going to be a good buy for, right? You have to ask those type of questions because whenever you're out buying real estate, there's certain pockets throughout DFW that aren't going to have the same equity appreciation as others, right? What I mean by that is if you're going into a master plan community, you're going to have a different level of appreciation than you would if you're in the rural areas. But whenever you're choosing, like I said, it's all about matching with them, seeing their personality type, checking their expertise, and then honestly being open and transparent about all numbers and just provide as much value as you can. Like how I believe is I over communicate instead of under communicate. So sometimes I come off as annoying because I'm gonna call you, email, and text you with all the information that I have because I want to make sure you're gonna make an informed decision. So I hope that gives a little bit of clarity on what would be best for you choosing your realtor. I mean, if there's anything else I can do a little bit dive deeper, I can. It's just I want to make it short and sweet, but I don't want to draw it. So
right now we'll get into more of it. That's the experience of having a relationship. Make sure that you gel with your realtor.
Yes.
I see that now.
And
yes, sir.
There's another piece of this. Make sure your realtor has connections.
Okay.
Why do I say that? Is because if there's nothing wrong with new realtors, right? But they don't know certain, like a community sales manager, right? I'm able to pull different strings by knowing a community sales manager because I work with them so much, and they know I'm going to get the job done, right? And they're going to be able to give us a better deal because they trust me to get the job done.
So that's basically saying, and we're true believers of having mentors.
Yes.
And so when you came up, even maybe now, you still got mentors.
Absolutely. So my real estate team is called Portfolio Real Estate Group. My mentor on the team, his name is Bo. He's been in the business 8 years now, and he's the one that helped me grow my business from producing $1 to $2 million a year, now upwards of $15 million a year in terms of production, right? And it's really important to have those mentors in your corner because they're going to be able to tell you, hey, you can do this to your business and help your business grow, or hey, you need to start focusing more on people, or focusing on a specific niche, or give you the pinpoints or the guidance on what you may not normally think about because you're too busy running your business, but they're there to help fine-tune your business and make it more efficient. And he was a big component of he taught me that relationships absolutely do matter. The reason why is because when you build a relationship with a restaurant owner or a builder or a roofing company or a plumbing company or HVAC or whatever it is, you have a Rolodex of people that you can always call. And the relationships that you build absolutely matter because whenever you're, say for instance, you're going under contract on a home and you have a 3 to 5 day option period, that means time is ticking super fast, right? Transactions moving super fast. If you don't have that Rolodex of people, like an inspector or a roofer or whatever, you're going to need a lot more time, and that's not going to be desirable to the seller. So it's all about structuring and having those relationships, because whenever you have the relationships built, it makes the transaction a lot more smooth. And you kind of got to experience that with Tiago, with Sean, right? So it's all about having those relationships, and whenever you have those relationships, you're able to pull certain strings to make it deal.
Gotcha. All right, so now I'm gonna switch gears, and I've been sitting here thinking of this show. Excuse me. It's off season now. Excuse me. I watch on cable. And they're out of California, and it's Millionaires. Oh man, it's a TV show. They glamorify
Real estate?
Yes.
So Selling Sunset. I think that's what it's called.
No, it's not Selling Sunset. It is.
This is Oppenheimer group?
No, I can't think of it. Thank you, Miss Angela. It's Millionaires something, and it started out like 4 or 5 people. Now it's like down to 3, and so excuse me. But they glamorify. They have like parties, opening, all this stuff. And so this is where I'm switching gears to. Now I'm a seller. I want to sell my house.
Right.
Tell me the marketing plan, because these guys, they're talking about the $1 million listing.
Yeah.
That's the name of the show. $1 million listing, right? So they're gonna make all this amount of money, but they're spending $50,000-$60,000 on these showing these, and it just, the houses are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love houses. That's why we built ours, right? I just love, designing and in the whole process of building the house. I don't know. I got into community work, but I know if I ever fall back, I'm going to the builder side. Because I just love that type of work, right? But tell me about what y'all do here to market my properties if I want to get out there and sell.
I'll give you a brief overview. I can't give you the secret sauce.
I can't get the secret sauce.
How
about off camera? I get the secret sauce.
I'll get you the secret sauce.
All right.
Absolutely.
Y'all hear that? I get it.
I'm here listening too.
Yeah. So a little piece of it is whenever you're selling your home, make sure you price it right. The reason why I say that is because overpricing your home is going to hurt you more in the longer run than pricing it correctly first. The reason why is because most people, especially sellers, you have to kind of detach from the memories you build. The reason why is because the buyer is not going to have those same memories. So you're going to have a different value of the home than a normal buyer. So it's going to be like a little tough awakening, but you have to stick with it, right? So price it properly the first time. Allow the home to be shown as many times as you can, right? Especially if the seller is still living there, you have to allow the home to be like viewable, because it's hard for a buyer to create the mindset of, I'm going to buy this home if they can't really view it. So pricing, viewing, and then professional videography, photography, and then ads. So all of those are going to be the good pieces without getting into the secret sauce.
Right.
How to get your home sold. But the main thing is stick to the numbers, trust your agent, and this is why it's super important to vet listing agents about how they're going to sell your home, and then what the process is going to look like whenever you sell your home. Because as you've known, you've been through 2 real estate transactions, 3 real estate transactions now. It can get really messy really quickly, and that's why it's important to have somebody in your corner to fight for you, right? But I hope that was a little bit of understanding of how to sell your home. But if you want more information, you let me know, and I can give you the secret sauce.
And I didn't know when I was going to dive into. Because you mentioned Sean and Tiago.
Yes.
Guys, I'm going to share something with y'all real quick. One thing that happened maybe a month or so ago, right? I asked Brydon, I was like, you know what? My dad was in the hospital, looking to move in, and I was like, all right, he's gonna need his own space. So we was gonna sell our home and go move out in the country and more space where he have his own dwelling unit, right? And so I think that we came over, did the walk through the house, and that was like on a Tuesday or Wednesday one week, and then just the next week, I think I called you and said, man, you ain't gonna believe what happened.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna let you know everything that we're doing out here in the community, it's not us doing. God has his hands on us. He's doing some crazy stuff, and it's exciting, right? And so now we're about to sell our house to get some room for my dad to come move in, and we're gonna be able to have more room for the automotive program, the culinary program.
Yeah.
I get a text message that day. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know which day. And it's out the blue. If I donate you some land, will you take care of the paperwork? And I'm like, what? This was a young man I talked to maybe 2 or 3 years ago and donated that land to us. So this is what I'm looking at. It's like God said, you're not moving. He made my dad, he healed my dad, because my dad was going to have to come stay with us. Guess what? 2 days later, the doctors called and said, no, he's going to be able to go home by himself.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? Now he's at home by himself. We got land. We didn't have to move. And the best part about it, God gave us that land, about 500 feet from the house, from the front door?
Yeah. I mean, literally down the street.
This stuff has been going on for like 2 years. Crazy things happening. Well, we say crazy, but I say crazy, but it's just doors opening. And, I mean, and it's outstanding seeing him work. And the people that he's putting in our lives to get out here in the community to help. Like I said, I didn't know what time I was going to dive into that, but I'm going to do it now. So, God can work in y'all life too if you start working for him. If you start building the kingdom. If you're not building the kingdom and what you're doing, don't expect those doors to open. They might crack, but they're not going to last long.
Nope.
It's going to falter through.
Yep.
And I mean, trust me, start building the kingdom, start helping somebody in your community, and just watch them work. Like I said, I call it crazy, but it's just God working in our TFT, the sponsors, Streetside Classic. Go to our website, tft.community.org, to see the other sponsors that's been helping out. I mean, it's just been some great things going on, but I'll get off that and I'll get back into real estate.
Before we jump off,
yes, sir.
I wanted to piggyback off of what you said.
Yes,
everything that you said, the main word that popped out to me is just be obedient to God.
Yes.
Because once you're obedient, He'll start opening doors that you couldn't even imagine, right? And then He'll also start blessing you to where you can't even fathom or even process. So I would say just be obedient and listen.
That's it. I mean, because let me tell you something. Like you mentioned about the 60 hours, 70-hour work weeks, it's going to happen. If they just say anybody out there listening, and y'all, say, you know what, I'm going to start building the kingdom, right? Once you start doing it, God is going to bless you, right? But guess what? After that blessing, it's time to grind.
Yep. You
have to put in work. You know what I'm saying? Because just with this land. We got the land, but guess what? Now I'm working with the city. The engineer to come get the wall up and all this stuff. So now I'm grinding on that. I'm learning new stuff. I'm not an engineer, but I'm learning the technology. I'm learning the language that they're talking. And guess what? The city's coming to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So don't expect to get handed anything to you. That door is going to open, but it's going to take you to walk through it and start putting in work. And it's fun work. It's fun to me. I mean, because I'm up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm on that computer. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to process. This stuff. I'm a truck driver by trade. It's all new stuff. But you ain't gonna know. I'm gonna know like I know. If you talk to me, it's like, yeah, I know about engineering work. Yeah, sure. Building a bridge, no problem. We can get it fixed. But it's because you're putting in work. You're putting in that grind. And if you want anything, it's gonna be the American grind. It's not the American dream, the American grind. Go put in work.
Yep.
Hey, come reach out to us. Hey, I help you out. Because we all need mentors.
Yeah.
We all need mentors, but
you can't do it alone.
No, you can't. You can't. If you try to do things alone, I wish you luck. Don't get me wrong. I wish you luck, and we'll be here for you when you need us. You know what I'm saying? So
there's a quote that popped up at the top of my head. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Man, come on, man. Come on, man. Hey, this is just the beginning. As we mentioned, 2024 has been a great year for us. We developed our program, we got in some schools with the support of help out here. But 2025? 2025 is coming alive.
Yes.
2025. We about to do something in 2025. We're just going to get out here. We're going to teach people about Full Wealthy Word. Our kids, our families, we got plans for y'all. Just stay tuned. Yes. But back to the real estate, that was the marketing plan. We talked about, let's get into the communication and the technology. You like to over communicate. Yes. You already established that, right? Which is, to me, I'd rather know and not to know.
Yes.
And I'd rather not want to go a week without hearing from the realtor, So right. You're good on that part. But then now, with the new technology, the DocuSign, all this making it easy to do. You don't have to be in the same place at one time with your seller. You don't even have to meet the seller or buyer these days. Now, tell me, do y'all use those formats?
Yeah. So we have multiple different I would say technologies. So we have a CRM system that helps us keep up to date with everything that's going on. You leave notes in there. It tells you, hey, this time frame is due, this option period is due, or this financing contingency is due. It keeps you up to date on all of that. Outside of that, for me, that's my CRM system. But outside of that, we do have DocuSign. We do have Dotloop, or there's a thing called Zip Forms. That's where we send electronic signatures to where we can submit offers remotely. And then on top of that, with working with specific partners, you can close remotely as well. So you can be in Texas and then the seller can be in California or New York. We're still able to make the transaction happen by doing things remotely, right? But there's technologies that we have in there, and this is also goes into buying and selling homes, right? This is a part of the secret sauce. That like we do have certain type of technologies that we can use to tell you, hey, you're overpaying for a home, or you're overvaluing your home, or like you're not valuing it enough, right? So there's certain type of technologies that we use to create values of a home. On top of that, how long that home is going to take to sell, right? So we have all the way down until like the amount of days, right? So when you're in a specific area around DFW, I can tell you, hey, if we price your home correctly, it's going to take your home 48 days to sell. And if it doesn't sell by the 48th day, there's something going on. Right. And that's whenever you go back into pretty much the secret sauce and create that game plan on how to get that home sold, especially whenever you're working with a seller that's on a tight time frame. It's all about building the specific plans per person. And it's the same thing with the buyer as well. If the buyer needs to get out of their lease at a certain time, it's all about structuring that time frame. But the technology, there's so many different types of technology that we use. We even use a thing called HomeBot that keeps you up to date on your values of your home and what your estimated tax payments are, or your insurance may increase or decrease or whatever it is. But that's a tool that we use to keep you updated year round.
Okay. Man, that's you need that these days, you know, and I'm glad y'all have it. One of the things is I seen on that $1 Million Listing once. This is a great show, you know. The acting as a seller's agent, buyer's agent.
Yeah.
All right. Have you been on both sides before?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called intermediary.
Okay. Explain that to them just in case, you know, if anyone of our viewers out there is buying and selling.
Yeah. So buying and selling, if we're working on the same property, that's intermediary, right? So I'm representing the buyer and the seller of one specific home. Okay. Typically, I'm not a big fan of that because I can't serve my clients to the highest capability. The reason why is because in intermediary status, the only power you have is to submit contracts on each side. There's not much negotiating because you're representing both sides, and if you negotiate there, you can be caught into some stuff to where the buyer and seller think you're going to take advantage of them. So typically, in an intermediary status, if I'm representing the seller, I'll refer the buyer to somebody on my team because now they're able to serve the buyer to a higher capability, and now I'm able to serve my seller the way that you serve. Right. But say for instance, if it's not on the same property, if I'm working with the seller and now we're buying another piece of property, it's all about time. So I list their home. I tell them, hey, this is the amount of time that I think we're going to need to sell this home at this time. And if we're going to build or buy another home, we need a certain amount of time to buy that home. So that's what you call a contingent home, right? So now you're selling this home contingent on, or you're going to buy this home contingent on the sale of your previous home. And there's always a case-by-case basis, but it truly depends on what the seller's goal is, right? If they're buying new construction, that may take a little longer, right? 6-12 months, depending on how fast we are in the process. And it could, there's so many different pieces. Right. But I covered intermediary and then also contingencies. So where, is there any place you want me to go a little bit deeper on?
No, I just want to know that there's an option, that you have the knowledge of it. Oh, you know, yeah, that's the key. The whole thing we want to do is that, and as we represent TFT and For Wealthy Work, we want to let them know that you have the knowledge of this field. So when they come to you, you covered all bases. Oh yeah, you know, you covered all bases.
I do everything with residential, from wholesaling to investments to normal traditional retail buying and selling, and then I also do a little bit of commercial in there as well. Okay. So my bases are covered, and if I don't know something, somebody on my team does. Right. And the thing is this is what goes back to mentorship, right? You can't know everything, you can't do everything by yourself. To whenever you have a team and a community built around you, then anything is possible.
Oh, that's so true with me. Like for instance, we got Miss Angela here, and we got Mr. Jason Lorch, we have Mr. Glenn Moore, we got Mr. Mike Taibbi. Trust me, they have way more knowledge in community work and technology and finance and automotive, you know. But as together, we got a great team.
Yes.
You know, so that's what it takes. You don't know it all. You're gonna need that team. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as we have the knowledge, as long as they know that hey, they come to us that we're gonna represent them well. That's the whole thing. One of the things on here, buyer and seller, that we found is when we come to a realtor, the buy or sell references. So you come to me and say, what references do you have in your 6 years? So you whip out that 150, I think you said 150 homes, families. You say pick one to go talk to. How did that work?
Yeah, or I mean, so I could give out my analytics of my past clients and see their reviews, or I can tell you to go to my website and see the reviews on there about how they feel about me, how I took care of business, and overall what their experience was like, right? Because whenever you buy a home, it's not gonna buying your home. One, it's your biggest investment, right? Your second one is your car, but your most biggest, your primary biggest investment is going to be your home, right? So there's a lot of emotions built into it because there's a lot of money being spent. You're buying your first home. There's a lot of all that in there. But whenever you're thinking about like a review, it's going to be stressful. Like no matter what, whenever you buy a home, it's going to be stressful. But how does your agent manage that stress for you? Because you're already dealing with finances. You're already dealing with like getting your mortgage pre-approved. Now you're dealing with, hey, we may need to get some repairs on the home, right? My job, what I tell all of my clients are that you focus on the finance, I focus on the home. The reason why is because I don't need you to stress out about all of this stuff. You already have enough going on. You already have work going on. You already have family going on. You have all of this stuff going on. Leave me the expert to take care of this for you, to take some of that stress off of you. Because like I said, about over 150 families. I've gotten my system is down packed so I would say so well. I mean every scenario is different,
right?
But I have my system down really well to know that hey, I tell my buyers strictly just focus on financing. Everything else in terms of negotiating price, negotiating repairs, negotiating entirely time frame, everything leave that up to me because I ask my buyer, hey, what's important to you? I write it down, take my notes, then I build the transaction catered for them.
Okay.
So yeah, with reviews, you can find me on Zillow, you can find me on Google, you can find me on my website.
You out there?
Yeah.
He ain't hiding.
Just Google my name.
Yeah, he ain't hiding at all. He ain't hiding at all. And we also kind of jumped into being in Fort Wealthy Worth in the Dallas area, the competitive market.
Yes.
We
are the #1 metroplex in the nation right now that's growing this fast.
And it's crazy.
Yes.
The traffic out here. I was literally in traffic. I went from, was it Thursday? I went from Garland to Mesquite, Sunnyvale to Lake Worth. 3:30.
Oh.
Now I was already out there in Garland. It was 3:30, and I had to hit Mesquite, I had to hit Sunnyvale, and I had to end up in Lake Worth. Right? 3.5 hours, man.
Easily.
3.5 hours.
That's on a good day. That's on a good day.
I was like, this is nuts. Compared to like we said back in the day when your parents,
oh yeah, you can get around.
Yeah, now, man, it's like wherever you see a tree, they cut down and they're developing.
Yes.
And that's why all these people are coming here to North Texas. It's crazy. So with the competitive market, you mentioned pricing your home right.
Yes.
What else do they need to do to prepare? The video, the technology, having the homes available.
Yeah.
What about like the touch of paints and all that? What would you do to make your home stand out above the rest?
So on the listing side, this is why it's important whenever you do your listing walkthrough, right?
Okay.
So whenever we walk through the home, we typically have a clipboard or our iPad or whatever it is. We're taking notes on hey, what we need to get fixed, right?
Okay.
The reason why is because you want to address the visible things first to make sure the home is seen well, and on top of that, like. You want to knock out the majority of the stuff up front before we go into the market is because you don't want to put a subpar product on the market. What I mean by that is like, hey, you need touch-up paint here, you need a new light bulb here, or you're missing your thermostat, or whatever it is. It's important that whenever we do our listing walkthroughs, we're taking notes and providing feedback on what you need to do before hitting the market. So with that, that's just like I said, that's just part of like your listing walkthrough to where we're getting your home and getting yourself prepared to go to market. And this kind of goes into the secret sauce to where we we have a different approach to it, right? We say, for instance, if you're super busy and you don't have time to do the filter paint, you don't have time to fix the leaky faucet or whatever, we have our trades come in and knock it out for you because we know life gets busy. And this is where I said, having that community around you to where I can call someone, I can call my plumber, he'll be there today. I can call my roofer, he'll be there today. I can call my inspector, he'll be there today or tomorrow. Right. And it's just having that community around you to where you have people to call on to get those things fixed before going to market.
Right. Now, let's say if I'm selling my house, I need these things to get fixed. Is there a certain amount of money that you tell your client, all right, put this much in there? Now I'm thinking like the Property Brothers. They say, or one of them other HGTV shows, they say, when you put this money into it, then you're going to get this much value out.
Yes. So that goes into a little bit of remodeling, right?
Okay.
So I always tell sellers, do not over customize your property or add, the best way to describe it is, you don't add gold fixtures into a home unless it's $1 million home, right? Right. So whenever you're thinking about remodeling and adding value to your home, there's, I'd say, 3 spots that you can really gain your value. So it's the curb appeal of the home, so making sure your shrubbery looks good, the lights look good if you have lights shining up on the home, make sure there's no cracks on the outside, make sure the paint is touched up front, making sure your front, like your curb view is beautiful. That's one piece. Second piece is making sure your kitchen is up to date. The reason why is because 9 times out of 10, whenever you're having guests over, you're going to be in the kitchen. It's either
the heart of the home.
The heart of the home. Everybody's going to congregate there, right? And then, so curb appeal, kitchen, bathrooms. The reason why I say primarily the master bathroom, because the owner of that home, they're paying the mortgage on it. Yeah. They want a nice place to where they can take a shower, do whatever they need to do, and that's the time that the owner kind of takes their pride, is that like, hey, this is my bathroom, this is my private space, and that's where you get the most value, because you're pretty much paying, if you're going to remodel the bathroom, you're paying that for the next owner, that they can sit down and have like their the throne. So there's different, but it truly depends on the neighborhood too, and it depends on the home. But those are like little quick tips about how to bring your value up. And if your home's fully outdated, right, we'll go in and we'll recommend these certain repairs. Maybe the carpet needs to be redone, or light fixtures, because light fixtures are the jewelry of the home. To where if you have good light fixtures, it makes the home shine brighter, or lighting in the home, or paint, or whatever it is. We can provide those details on what's going to bring more value to the home. But those are, like I said, those are just kind of the overviews. But we can always dive deep into each individual home and let you know what's going to be more beneficial and how much is it going to cost and how much you're going to be able to project to get out of those costs that you pay for.
Okay. Now, we're getting close to wrapping things up. And now, this is the part where everybody is going to want to know. And we're going to, like I said, in April, we're going to have our financial seminar. We're going to talk about home buying, because not everybody's going to watch the video. We already know. And they're not going to watch the whole thing. So they're going to come and ask these questions for the ones that's ready to get into their home. There's two parts to the next one. The credit process, the financial situation to be. Because we know debt to income ratio, the amount of money that has to be in the bank. Can you just dive a little bit into that area?
Absolutely. So I'll knock out credit first. Okay. I've helped people with 500 credit scores, but you have to have 10% down. Okay. I can get you pre-approved with a 580 credit score, FHA, that's 3.5% down. But I would say this. If you're at a 580, 500, whatever it is, you're going to have a higher interest rate than somebody that's going to have a 720 credit score. Right. So the most important piece is getting with the lender, let the lender see the overall makeup of your credit profile. And they will provide recommendations on, hey, you need to pay this credit card down, or hey, you need to make these amount of payments on your car payments, or whatever it is to knock down on that debt to income to where it's going to boost your credit score. And the higher your credit score, the better interest rates we can give you. And you won't have to really worry about certain type of insurances, right? So there's mortgage insurance, there's premium mortgage insurance, there's all of these little criteria.
VIP.
Yes, exactly. So the better credit score you have, the better deal we can give you. So, like I said, you have a 500 credit score, we can still make it happen, but you're gonna need more money down. But if you're a first-time home buyer, I can get you in a home 580 credit score, 3.5% down of the purchase price of the home. Or if you have a higher credit score of a 720, we can get you into a conventional home or a conventional loan, and it's only 3% down. But now we're going to transition from credit into closing costs and down payment. So FHA is 3.5% down, conventional is 3% down, and then I would always factor in another 2 to 2.5% for closing costs. Unless we're going to go with the builder, right? There's some builders out there right now that are able to buy our interest rates down to 4.99, 3.99. I've even seen the lowest as 2.99. Right, but they all have
market right now.
Yeah, it's a good market, especially for builders, right? Because builders have the inventory, they create their own inventory, and they're such a big corporate structure where they can factor into some of those prices to give the buyer a better deal, just because they're building on mass, right? But yeah, just to overview: 3 to 3.5% down, FHA conventional, 2 to 2.5% of the purchase price for the closing cost. And I'd roughly tell you, for a $300,000 home, you may need $10,000 for down payment, and then another 2.5%, so maybe another $8,000 for closing costs. And outside of that, you want to make sure you have some money in reserves. So whenever the lender is looking at your profile, he's saying, "Hey, you have 10 grand in the bank, but you have $24,000 in your 401k. Your 401k is now going to be used as reserves to where, say, for instance, God forbid that you lose your job, now you have some money to pull from to make sure your monthly payments are still there, so you're not going to be forced into foreclosure." So there's always a good thing to build up, right? So I would say if you're a first-time home buyer, here's 3 things you need to check, or you need to have checked on. Your credit score. The higher the credit score, the better position you're in, and it's going to make things a lot easier. I would say have about $20,000 saved up. The reason why is because you want to make sure you have that cushion. You always want to have a cushion. And then the next step would be finding your realtor, finding your sphere that's going to make it happen for you. And typically, most realtors are going to have their preferred lenders, and I know people get weary about realtors providing their own lenders, but the reason why we have our own lenders is because they're tried and true, and we ran them through the ringer. The reason why, and I know they're going to get the job done, and they're going to tell me up front, hey, this is going to happen or this is not going to happen. There's a lender that I'm working with right now. His name is AJ Myers. He is a solid guy. He'll tell me within the next 10 minutes, hey, we're able to get this person pre-approved, and with these conditions. If they knock out X, Y, and Z, they can buy a home tomorrow. Right? Or he's going to say, hey, we may need to wait 3 to 6 months. Let them knock out this credit plan or this goal saving plan or whatever it is to build up the reserves, and then we can start. It's all about
put a plan together.
Exactly.
At least give you a plan to start on, so you know you're going to get there.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the most important piece is the lender. The lender is going to tell you everything you need to know before my job gets done.
Okay. And that's as y'all know, Mr. Jason. He works with the mortgage companies, and so we're building a great team. Like I said, our team is going to be out here doing what we can do, grinding for y'all to get into your homes or your leases, whichever the direction that you're going. And so now, you had 2. So that was the main thing people look at. One of the main things. Now the fees for the realtor, y'all's fees. How do y'all dictate what y'all get paid? What the buyer pay y'all, the seller pay y'all?
Right.
Dive into that and see how that works.
So how our fees get paid, that typically is structured into the listing, right? So whenever you sell a home, all realtors are different, right? It's either, do you want a full service brokerage? A full service brokerage is somebody who's going to handle the transaction from A to Z. Or do you want somebody just to put your home on the market and charge you a flat fee and not do any work, but leave the majority of the work left up to the seller? So there's 2 different sides. So the full service broker, their fees range, right? So it's either 6%, 5%, or 4%. Sometimes it goes all the way down to 2%. So it's 1% each side. So whenever I say 6%, typically the 6% is divided up between the seller, the listing agent, and the buyer's agent. So they get 3%, buyer's agent gets 3%. And if it goes down to 4, there's 2 and 2, and then 1 and 1. Right? That's typically how it's structured. But that's all going into the listing, right? And right now, so there's been a pretty big lawsuit against the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, because there's a lot of realtors, what they did was price fix. And at the end of the day, everything in real estate in terms of numbers is meant to be negotiated. So with that big lawsuit in place, there was a lot of realtors that were saying, hey, we're only doing 6%. So it's only 3% to the buyer's agent, only 3% to the listing agent. But in reality, that you can't price fix. The reason why is because every seller is in a different scenario, right? Say for instance, there's a seller that may be behind on back taxes and they need some of that money from paying the buyers or the sellers. They need some of that money to pay off their back taxes.
Right.
So you can't say we're only doing 6%. You have to work it on whoever you're working with, because every deal or every transaction is different. Everybody's needs are different. So that's how the fees are typically paid. And then whenever you go the building route, the builder's majority of the time pay the buyer's agent. And that ranges anywhere between 1 to 5%. It truly depends on the builder. But typically, most buyers don't pay their buyer's agent.
Well, you know what? We have talked a lot about real estate. We talked about pricing, credit, all of this stuff. Now we're finna get into the nitty gritty of this. And I hope I put a smile on your face for this one right here, you know what I'm saying? And so we talked about, he's not just our realtor, you know, he's my nephew. And now I want to introduce my brother, Mr. Forrest Fitzgerald.
Doing good.
And so,
how you doing?
doing all right, brother?
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? I hope this is a surprise for
Yes,
you.
it was. Yes, it was.
This is the fun part. Already, Mr. Brydon talked about y'all first apartment out in Grapevine. Grapevine by the lake, real estate, $600. Can't get that nowhere now. But guys, I just want to, hats off to y'all. Seeing y'all come up. You know what I'm saying? It's been many years. Proud of Brydon here. Proud of you.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Raising an outstanding young man.
Thank you.
You know, we need this in the community. We need our fathers to raise up our boys, you know, and our daughters. Don't get me wrong. But in this example, we have our father and son here. We're gonna go out here a little bit, talk about cars.
Yep.
You know, we're gonna dive into that. But so tell me, this is your boy.
Oh, yeah.
I know you got the shades on. You might tear up a little bit, but I know you're proud of. Because you talk to me about them all the time.
Yeah.
So,
My son Brydon came a long way. Smart gentleman. Very proud of him, like I said. Football. Oh, yeah. But we all were. Yeah, we all were. During that time when we were young too. So it was a learning process. But it was good to see him grow. It was good to see him mature, and see him become much more stable.
I can talk loud, so I'm okay. I'm okay.
So it's good to see him where he's much more stable. And then I'm very proud of him again because he's part of the community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So with his knowledge, I believe he can share and help others become homeowners.
Right.
Which has inspired me to focus more on my business too as well. Yeah. So, so my son is an inspiration to me. I'm proud of him. And I'm also proud of my brother Broderick for pulling me into the community, inviting me in to use what's in my mind as far as entrepreneurship. And I just really appreciate him taking the time out and showing much love to me and my son and others in my family as well. So.
Man, it's all about coming together. We talked about it earlier. We talked about the American grind. We all, grew up together. We was all knuckleheads. As we mentioned, we didn't do this right. We didn't we didn't do this the right way. We went around some bushes a few times, But the thing is, we're here now, and we're going to provide back into the family.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned Mr. Brydon mentioned that when he gave that family member the keys, they started crying. My first time, we started partying.
Yeah, sure did.
We started partying that day, party for a while, so. But we didn't do it the right way, but we got here how we got here, by the grace of God, right?
Yep.
And so looking forward to helping some more people out here in the community. Now, Mr. Brydon had mentioned when he made a decision not to go to college, the traditional route. What was you on that? Was you wanting him to go to college? Was you wanting him to take the route he take? Was you college bound? Tell me.
Yeah, it was a struggle at first.
Okay.
Because we did a lot of traveling. First of all, we gone out to Mississippi for Columbine out there for scholarship. We went out to Midwestern State. for a scholarship. So we're really focused on his college, getting his education, and then pursuing whatever he wanted to pursue afterwards. But Brydon is someone like his dad. He's going to create his own path. Stubborn at some time, focused all the time. But at the end of the road, as they say, it's always success. Because sometimes, even though I wasn't a parent, I had to let my son choose his way and just support him. Right. And he didn't fail; he became successful. But he always knew that he had someone to lean on if he always needed someone. So with that being said, like I said, it was a struggle. But afterwards, it was let me see where my son's going to go with this. Let me be more supportive and let him find his way. And that's where we're at today. So.
I'll piggyback off of that.
Cause you kind of I said that right there, you like, yep, it was like
it was a struggle.
It was a struggle.
It was a struggle because by the grace of God, my dad was able to support me to go to Tarrant County College. Right. I didn't have scholarships. My dad was helping me pay for school. Actually, he was paying for my school. He didn't help me. He paid for me.
Wow.
So that was a struggle because it was like you're working, you have life, you have all of your bills, and you're still able to make sacrifices for me to go to school. And then ultimately, that wasn't my decision to continue with that school. And I appreciate my dad for, one, giving me the opportunity to make that decision of, hey, school isn't my route, but still supporting me while I'm creating a business. And whenever you have a dad whenever you have a family member, father, that gives you that grace and that flexibility to make your decision and grow and create a business, there's nothing more important. The reason why is because creating a business is not easy. But like you said, like my dad said, he's always been there to where he's always been a shoulder to lean on, or hey, pops, really, going to school right now, going through real estate school, that was a whole nother struggle, man. And it's always good to have somebody in your corner rooting for you. And I couldn't have done it without it. And that's why it's super important to have a father. Because, honestly, I'm 26, and there's no day, I don't care how grown you are, you're always going to need your dad. Right. Always. Always.
I mean, we cannot say that enough, Mr. Q, mentioned in our video a couple of weeks ago, we did a launch, and he told, basically just made a little statement. He's asking for our men to step up, step up and get into this game, because our young men, our young daughters, they need their fathers. They need male role models, So even if you're not a father, guys, you got a nephew, you got a niece, be there for them. Show them the right way. You see one of these knuckleheads out here, like we said, we was knuckleheads, sagging our britches, talking crazy, not opening doors for ladies. Not pulling out chairs for ladies. These are the things that we need to instill back into our young men.
Back to the basics.
You know what I mean? Yep. And it's going to take us older gentlemen now to do that to our young guys. Man, so we got into that. I my heart's just pounding just to seeing that y'all together and surprise them. Saying thank you for coming out, Mr. Fitzgerald. So he's growing up. We at Streetside Classic. I want to thank one of our sponsors here, Rapscallion Motorworks. I'm representing their hats. One of their slogans is "Die a Legend." I don't want to say "Die a Legend." I just want to say "Become a Mentor." That's something that we're going to push. Become a mentor. 1 kid, 2 kids, I don't care what it is. Find the local YMCA, find the local community center, anywhere to become a mentor. That's going to be our little slogan on our gear. We're going to have our Fort Wealthy wear gear pretty soon. Once again, Ms. Angela, we're working on the designs of shirts. We're going to get on the website. We actually, 2025, we out. 2025, it's about to go down.
Yes, sir.
But he's growing up as a young man, playing football. And once again, we're here at Streetside. Cars. Mm-hmm. What is it like? What are you directing them to? What's the classic? You said you had something in mind already, you told me.
Yeah.
So what car are we talking about?
My car?
Yeah, what's your dream car?
My dream car is a 1969 SS Chevelle.
Yeah.
SS Chevelle. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's my dream car.
Okay. Mr. Fitzgerald, what you looking at?
72 Chevy Impala.
Okay, all right. So guys, we are here at Streetside Classic. What we're gonna do, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, and guess what? We're gonna be out there in front of that. Go ahead.
Chevelle.
That Chevelle.
And that 72 Glass House.
That's a big boat. So we will be right back to you. Stay tuned. Fort Wealthy Worth, Streetside Classic, Caffeine Classic and Community in Fort Wealthy Worth. We'll see y'all soon.
Peace.